Stampers, Kim from stampingimperfection.com. Welcome to my craft room. I wanted to share the card that I'm making. In fact, I decided to make two cards from this week's Papercraft Crew sketch. And if you've never done a sketch challenge, it's really fun, and you should stop by the papercraftcrew.com, check out this week's sketch, and give it a try and share your card on the Papercraft Crew site. And it gives you a great way to compare yourself to others. Sometimes we have blog candy. We always pick winners, and sometimes she picks new design team members from people who routinely enter cards on the site. So it's really fun to do. So, and I've been a design team member for, almost 4 years, I think. So this week, my card is going to be, I've completely fallen in love with the Paisleys and Posies Designer Series specialty paper. I've been using just a ton of this, and the Paisleys and Posies stamp set, along with this, I believe this is called the Petal Burst Textured Embossing folder. This is in the, I think this is in the annual catalog. And then along with the Paisleys and Posies, there is a die, or a thinlets, framelits die set that goes along with the Paisleys and Posies. And there's also a separate embossing folder that coordinates with it as well. This beautiful oval. I don't know how well you can see that with the light, but it's just such a fun suite to use, and I love the combination of this Petal Burst textured embossing folder with the set. And I'm using the color scheme from the Designer Series paper because I just fell in love with it. Stampin' Up! Also came out with this trio pack of ribbons, and these are the three colors that I'm going to use. This is Crushed Curry, Rich Raspberry, and Mint Macaron. And for one card, I'm going to use a little bit of this bronze, and then for the other card, I'm going to use this gold. They came out with a Baker's Twine trio pack in the holiday catalog. You get cherry cobbler, garden green, and some gold. I'm going to use gold on the second card. So I have a few things that I want to use on these cards. Now, in the sketch, it's a great sketch. There's so many things you could do with it. I decided I would go ahead and use the paper because I love the Designer Series paper. If you don't have a Designer Series paper that you want to use, make your own background using your stamps. Like this doesn't have to be paper here, that's designer paper, but I just love adding the designer paper, and I really especially love the big graphic prints and things, which is probably why I love this Petal Burst embossing folder. So let me do this one first. So for this one, I've cut a piece of Rich Raspberry. This is 4 1/4 by 11. I scored it at 5 1/2. I have a piece of the Posies and Petals? No, Petals and Paisley Designer Series paper, something like that. And this is cut 3 by 4. And then I've cut a piece of Mint Macaron. This is 2 by 4. And I've run this through the Petal Burst embossing folder on my Big Shot. And then I just cut a piece of Very Vanilla, 1 inch wide, and I'm going to use that from there. So this is the whole thing. So I'm going to keep this card really simple. I think that this is a great sketch because it's a pretty clean and simple sketch. You could actually do this with just a single layer of paper and a banner. I'm just combining a few elements that I've just over the weekend fallen in love with. So I'm just going to glue these down. I'm going to move this up a little because I want it to, I will cover that gap. Probably should have cut it 1/4 inch bigger, but I'll cover that gap with my sentiment. So I'll put this aside for a minute, and then I'm going to use the triple banner punch, and I've never been sure how much this actually cuts off. So starting out 8 1/2, I'm going to slide this down in all the way to the end. This is cutting off a 1/2 inch. So I want to keep that in mind. So I want this to be the width of my card. So my card is 4 1/4. So I'm going to cut this down to okay, so I cut this down to 5 1/4, and after cutting one end off, I cut it down to 5 1/4. I would probably start out with it being 6 1/4 to start with. Let's see how that works out. Beautiful. It's going to hang off a little bit. That's okay. You can make it shorter if you want. Now I'm going to take, I want the rich raspberry, and I hope this is wide enough. I'm pretty sure this is wide enough for my new favorite sentiment. I love the sentiments in this stamp set. So I'm taking the Thankful, Grateful, Blessed. Hopefully getting it sort of straight. I'm using rich raspberry. I'm going to try to stamp this in the middle like that. Not very good. I'm going to flip it over and see if I can do a better job here. Beautiful thing about paper is it has two sides. I don't know if that's any better. Nope, not much better. It'll be okay though. I'm going to add a little glue to the back of this. This is a piece of the copper foil that I used with the one of the framelits from the Paisley framelit set. And I'm just going to add a couple of little dabs of glue here to the back. I would use the thin needle stuff, but I'm not doing a good job getting that actually on there the way I like it, so it just seems to be a big mess. Now I've got this is copper, and it's super skinny like thread, so it's metallic copper thread. So I'm just going to wad a bunch up, because it's like you need a ton of this stuff for it to see, but there's a ton on this roll. Like, I'll never use this whole roll. And I usually, it's one of the things that this sketch calls for some baker's twine. I didn't really have any baker's twine that I wanted to use behind it, so I usually just take a few glue dots and add them like that. I'll add it to the back here like this. And I'll play around with it as I add it onto my card, and you can add more glue dots and, you know, shape it around a little bit if you want to. And one of the things I think I'm going to do is, since I have a little bit of play here and I have some space on this side, I think I might take the mint macaron and one of the leaves. There's so many leaf choices in this. I'm going to take the medium leaf and just put one leaf. Oops, that was not the color. Yes, it was. Okay. One leaf over here like that. And I'm going to add glue dots, or not glue dots, but dimensionals to the back of this. And attach it to the front of my card. I think that came off. There we go. Sort of center it there. Try to get it as straight as possible. There we go, and that's going to complete my card for the Papercraft crew. But I like this sketch so much, I decided I wanted to try a second one. So I'm going to use the same sketch with the same color scheme, but make a slightly different card. So here's the next one. So here's what I wanted to do with this. Same base, rich raspberry. cut it 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Now I have a piece of Very Vanilla, and this is cut at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this down, which I wouldn't ordinarily do because I am going to stamp on this. But I'm going to stick it down first. And notice that I've left only 1/8 of an inch between these two pieces, so I've got a really slim 1/16 inch all around there. Okay, this again is cut 3 by 4, so I'm just going to put that down. Again, a little bit of, I've got some layers showing there, so I kind of like that. Now I'm going to take my, I'm going to take crushed curry, mint macaron, and since I already started with the medium mint macaron, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to make a background. I'm going to stamp some random leaves in mint macaron. This is the medium leaf. Okay, and I can add more of those if I want to. I'm going to take the large leaf, and with the large leaf and the rich razzleberry, these leaves are so pretty. I've been adding them to all kinds of projects. And this is a pretty bold color, so I don't want too many of them, but certainly, let me turn one around. I want enough to be noticeable. Let's get the end of this here, like that. I think I might want a few more mint ones. Now I'm going to take Delightful Dijon and the smallest leaf, which is really tiny, and I'm going to add a few of these in the spaces. I'll go do a couple backwards. Maybe one off the end here. And I'm going to add just a couple more mint ones and call it a day and do my sentiment. It's this one. Fill in a couple more spaces. There, that's good enough. Now, I've cut a piece of mint macaron, and this is 4 1/4. I hope it's 4 1/4 by 1 inch. So I want this to go across like this. And then I have a piece of Very Vanilla. This is cut at 7/8 by 4 1/8. And this is what I'm going to put my sentiment on. And I want to use this one. The sentiments on this set are just fabulous. And this says, I thank you for your part in my journey. I'm lining it up with a grid mark, and then I'll line the edge of my stamp up with a grid mark, and hopefully get it fairly straight. We see how well that worked out last time. So I'm going to put that down like that. Pretty. What a pretty sentiment. I'll glue this on top of the mint macaron. I've got just a little bit of a border around there again. Oops. Just got a little ink on there. I find it hard to make cards without having a smudge. But that's okay, because my plan for this card is to take a little bit of this gold, and I've already made a bow out of the mint macaron, so I'm going to take, now the way the sketch is done, in the past I would have used buttons or something like that, but we don't really have a lot of buttons in this catalog, or even in the holiday catalog, so I've stopped using buttons so much. And I'm just using glue dots and looping that a couple of times because the sketch did call for baker's twine. I'm just going to add a couple more glue dots to the back of that so I can get this to really stick down. To the card and not my finger, hopefully. Just like that. And on the other side of that, I'm going to take some of these enamel dots and crushed curry, where are you? There we go. Been using a lot of crushed curry. This is the Regals collection. These are what I consider to be the fall colors. I'm just going to add a couple of those to this side, like that. And I've got 2 cards completed with the same sketch, same color scheme, same papers, but they're really different looking cards depending on how much you want to do. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Stop by my blog at stampingandperfection.com for more tips and tricks. You can shop online at mystampingstore.com, and please check out this week's Papercraft Crew Sketch Challenge and consider participating, because it's a lot of fun to take somebody else's sketch and challenge yourself, and it's especially fun if you're having a creative block. So go ahead and check out this. The sketch is made by Pam Staples, and again, it's papercraftcrew.com. I'll look for your card this week. Thanks for watching.